Hi, welcome back to Pete. Now in today's video, I'm going to address the difficult topic of whether or not I am exploiting INFP personality types for my own gain. Now, obviously it's not for financial gain because I'm not making any money from INFPs, but I do sometimes wonder whether I would have, over 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube if I hadn't in some way been slightly sly and cunning, especially when you consider that INFPs make up a huge portion of the people who are interested in this kind of content. You know that you're going to get a lot of INFPs, many of them who are quite lonely and staring at their screens and want to see other INFPs, potentially, talk about their experiences. But the truth is that for me at least, I deliberately targeted a lot of my videos at one point at INFPs because I knew that INFPs had a tendency to be a bit more not agreeable, but a bit more supportive. I often say to people at the end of the video, if you've got similar experiences, let me know in the comments, and I might even write that in the information part of the YouTube video. Now that is a deliberate attempt to grow my audience of INFPs, knowing fully well that INFPs are susceptible to telling stories and sharing their experiences and have all these, stories and things that they want to get off their chest. And sometimes INFPs are just waiting for someone to actually listen. And it doesn't really keep me up at night because I feel like there are other INFP YouTubers that I watch and I don't feel like they're manipulating me, but maybe they are. And to be honest, I do have a bit of a history of aiming my content, even my real life content, like in terms of things that I say, I often say them to INFPs. I deliberately have INFP friends. I've deliberately hung out with INFP people even before I knew what personality types were. I would find someone, like if I was in a hostel, say in Tokyo when I had nowhere to live, so I used to get drunk and hostel hop. And I was in this hostel talking to a whole group of people. There was this drunk Indonesian man who kept telling me that I looked like Ace Ventura, I think because I had a quiff at the time. And there was this one girl who was frowning at everyone. And the next morning when I came upstairs to have my Japanese hostel breakfast, I'm sitting there and the girl sort of looks at me and she looks away, and then she looks at me and looks away, speaks to me in Japanese. I reply in Japanese and we click. And even though she didn't like anyone, she wanted to hang out with me. But I still knew deep down, even though I didn't know what personality types were, that she was a personality type where I'd had similar dynamics in the past, and I deliberately hung out with her. Like we walked down to Akihabara. She wanted to do like these dancing games, and we just hung out and we laughed and we got on really well. I remember dancing for no reason at 11 a.m. on some street in Tokyo with her. And she was a nanny. She was working for au pair, is that the term? Anyway, she was French, so she was living in a rich mountain town outside of Tokyo. You might know which one I'm talking about. And she wanted me to come and stay with her for a few months if I had nowhere to live. Probably should have taken her up on that. Instead, I went on a date with a Japanese girl with a forked tongue who was definitely not an INFP. It makes me wonder, like, if I did know what personality types were, I might have actually gone and visited this girl because I would have been a bit biased towards her, knowing she actually was my personality type. That sick thing where you start typing people when you first meet them. But because I didn't know what these systems were, I just sort of let her go. And I didn't see her again. I should point out that actually 10 years ago when I moved to Japan, I was kind of trying to get closer to an ex-girlfriend from 5 or 6 years before that. I saw her last year actually. And she was also an INFP personality type. And I thought that she was an INFJ the whole time. Because when I was first getting into MBTI, I was trying to think of all the people in my life and what types they could be. And I felt like she might have been the same personality type as me. But then I watched a video by C.S. Joseph once when I was not stuck, but I was waiting for a plane for 8 hours in Helsinki. I was just killing time and I watched loads and loads of C.S. Joseph lectures. And he did this whole thing about what an INFJ-INFP relationship is like. And everything C.S. Joseph said made me convinced that I had been in a classic INFJ-INFP relationship. And it was only last year when I was talking to her, my ex-girlfriend from 15 years ago, that we brought it up again. And she really didn't quite agree. Like, she obviously felt like INFJ suited her in certain ways, like her interest in philosophy. And then every time she'd do the test, she'd get INTP, ENFP. Turned out she was an INFP. But actually, back to that French INFP that I mentioned, who wanted me to come and visit her in that town. She eventually contacted me because we exchanged emails and we had a few funny emails we wrote to each other. But she came across my YouTube channel at the time, which was about Japanese things, and she took offense to a few pronouns I used or something. I was using Japanese pronouns and she found them a bit bigoted. And I didn't mean to. It was just I was hanging around with a lot of Japanese people and she took offense to it. And then I took offense to her calling me out over this tiny thing. But I'm sure that she meant well and I probably should have stayed friends with her. But I do bet that if I was obsessed with MBTI at that time 10 years ago, that I would have tried to maintain friendship with her just because I knew she was an INFP. But luckily, because I didn't know about what an INFP was, I just let her go. And maybe that would have been for the best. So at the end of the day, yes, I have been exploiting INFPs on this channel for quite a while. I do intend to stop exploiting INFPs and maybe exploit some other personality types or groups to get views, aim my content at some other sort of lonely group, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I do think I have been exploiting INFPs on this channel and it's not okay. And I'm calling myself out for this right now. And I encourage you to call me out as well if you feel used and somewhat abused. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this video, if you also exploit INFPs for your own gain. And yeah, see you next time.